if any of you remember this guy when I posted him up. This is one of my first creations using air dry clay. It's a giant slug, giant monster slug. The core of this entire creation is air dry clay. The most difficult part to sculpt was the head. Not necessarily because it was difficult, but because it was time consuming. You know, just sculpting in the folds when the body was simply pinching, pushing. A lot more simpler. Just use a flat edge to sort of push up to create the folds. I made some interesting indentations on the head. These little sensory stalks that the slug has it's just scraps from toothpick scraps. These are the toothpick edges, of course, the fangs in the mouth. The body, as we discussed, and the head is air dry clay. The base is made from homemade texture paste. Gives it a lot of rigidity. Also, you go over the edges with the homemade texture paste and you can't even tell it's cardboard. These little scales or plates or whatever you want to call them, this little accoutrement is rice, grains of rice. That's all this is right here. Now, how I did it to make it look exactly like how I want it to look was I glued on each individual grain of rice to create the pattern here. I'll put up some pictures so hopefully you can see it better, but the pattern lays roughly flat towards the end, and as you go up towards the head, it flares out a bit. And like I said, to do that, I glued each individual rice grain there. Finally, it's a quick and simple paint job. One quick base coat on the base, dry brush with some tan, boom, base is done. Same thing with the slug. Quick dark green, dry brush some lighter green. Over here, just heavier dry brush on the underbelly. And when that's dry, just finish it off with a gloss coat. Make it look yucky. See how that gloss coat plays off of the shapes and the texture? That's pretty much it. Just to make a giant slug, it's really easy. Roll up a tube of air dry clay. Get your little details in there. Then get your rice grains. Then once the air dry clay is dry, I would suggest painting the entire thing in PVA first, so that it could absorb some of that PVA and give it some strength and more rigidity, and you know, let the air dry clay survive things like that, like dropping it. Otherwise, you're gonna drop your air dry clay and it has a better chance of just popping open or shattering. You know, don't limit yourself, don't limit your imagination, keep your mind open, let your creativity flow. That's a little quick peek at one of my older monsters and an overview on how I craft it. Basically, you need air dry clay, toothpicks, paste, and paint. One more ingredient, some grains of rice, and you're done. It's cheap, it's fairly quick, it's fairly easy, and you get a pretty nasty looking monster. So, hope you enjoyed, and always remember to keep cool and get your craft on. Peace.